He was selling his dog to pay rent. They offered him more money than he'd seen in his lifetime. Then he said something that made producers think he'd lost his mind. Los Angeles, California, November 1975. Chartoff Winkler Productions office. A small office on the second floor of a building that smells of coffee and ambition. 3 men around a mahogany table. Producer Irwin Winkler, 44 years old, experienced, successful. His partner Robert Chartoff, equally established in the industry, both wearing expensive suits, gold watches, the kind of men who know how to make money in Hollywood. And sitting across from them, Sylvester Stallone, 29 years old, broke, unknown. He has written something, a script. It is sitting on the table between them, like a bridge between 2 different worlds. Winkler has read the script. It is good, very good. A story about a small-time boxer from Philadelphia who gets a shot at the championship, Rocky Balboa, the Italian stallion. Raw, authentic, heartbreaking. The kind of script that could make millions. The writing is different from anything they have seen. Not polished, like studio scripts. Rougher, more honest. It feels like it was written by someone who understands struggle. There are scenes that make Winkler's chest tight. Rocky talking to his turtles. Rocky walking Adrian home from the pet store. Rocky standing in front of the mirror the night before the fight, admitting he can't win but wanting to go the distance. This is not just a boxing movie. This is a movie about heart, about dignity, about proving you belong somewhere. But there is a problem. Stallone wants to star in it. And nobody knows who Sylvester Stallone is. 2 weeks earlier, Stallone was desperate. $106 in his bank account. 3 months behind on rent for a seedy apartment in Hollywood that smells like cigarettes and broken dreams. His pregnant wife, Sasha, worried about eviction notices and unpaid bills stacking up on their kitchen table. They had been living on canned food and hope. He had tried to sell his dog, Botkus, a bull mastiff who was more than a pet. He was Stallone's only constant companion through years of rejection and struggle. $25 to a stranger outside a liquor store on Sunset Boulevard. The man looked at the dog, looked at Stallone, and walked away. Even the dog sale fell through. Stallone had auditioned for countless roles, been rejected by every casting director in town. Too ethnic, too intense. Speech impediment from a forceps delivery that paralyzed part of his face. He had worked as a movie usher, a zoo cleaner, even acted in an adult film, because he needed money for food. The rejections were always the same. You're a character actor, not a leading man. Fix your speech and come back. You look like a thug. But this script is different. This script is his last hope. 3.5 days of writing after watching Muhammad Ali fight Chuck Wepner on closed-circuit TV at a movie theater. Every word written with hunger, with necessity, with the understanding that this might be his only chance to prove he belonged in this business. Winkler leans forward. Sylvester, the script is remarkable. We want to buy it. He slides a piece of paper across the table. $75,000. Stallone looks at the number. More money than he has ever seen in his life. Enough to pay rent, buy food, prepare for the baby. His hands are steady, but his mind is racing. There's just one thing, Chartoff says. We're thinking Ryan O'Neal for Rocky. Or maybe James Caan. Someone with box office appeal. Stallone's expression doesn't change, but something tightens in his jaw. What do you mean? You write it, Winkler explains. We buy it, we make it with a star. Everyone wins. Silence. The air conditioning hums. A secretary's typewriter clicks in the outer office. Cars pass on the street below. Stallone picks up the paper with the offer. Stares at the number, $75,000. He thinks about his wife, about the baby coming, about the eviction notice. Then he sets the paper down. No. Winkler and Chertoff exchange glances. Did he just refuse $75,000? Sylvester Chertoff says carefully, "This is a very generous offer. I understand. More money than most writers see in years. I understand." But Stallone's voice is calm. "I didn't write this script to sell it. I wrote it to play it." Another silence. This one longer. More uncomfortable. Winkler tries a different approach. "Look, we appreciate your passion, but acting and writing are different skills. This needs a proven actor." Like who? Ryan O'Neal has been in Love Story. James Caan was in The Godfather. Burt Reynolds. They're not Rocky. Stallone interrupts. The producers look at each other again. They want this script, but they also want to make money. And unknown actors don't make money. "What if we increase the offer?" Winkler asks. He takes back the paper, crosses out the number, writes a new one. 125,000. Stallone doesn't even look at it. "No," Sylvester Chertoff says, leaning forward, "you're being unreasonable. This is life-changing money. Not if it's not my life being changed." Winkler is getting frustrated. He has never met a writer who turned down this kind of money, especially not a broke writer, especially not one selling his dog. He crosses out the second number, writes a third, $250,000. Stallone glances at it. His first reaction is shock. $250,000, more than most people make in 5 years. Enough to change everything. But then he thinks about sitting in a movie theater, watching Ryan O'Neal or James Caan playing Rocky Balboa, watching someone else live his dream, watching his words come out of someone else's mouth. "No, this is insane," Chertoff mutters. "Maybe," Stallone says. "But it's my insanity." Winkler is done being reasonable. His patience is exhausted. He has never encountered anything like this in 20 years of producing. Writers don't turn down this kind of money, especially not writers who are selling their dogs to pay rent. He scratches out the third number with force, the pen tearing slightly through the paper. Writes bigger, harder, pressing down so hard the number indents the paper underneath. $300,000. He slides the paper across the table with finality. "This is it, Stallone. This is the highest offer any studio has ever made for a first-time screenplay from an unknown writer." Chertoff nods gravely. $300,000. "Take it." The room is completely quiet. No air conditioning hum. No typewriter clicks. Even the traffic outside seems to have stopped. Stallone stares at the paper for what feels like an eternity. $300,000 written in Winkler's angry handwriting. He can see the number even when he closes his eyes. More than most people make in a decade. His wife is pregnant, due in 3 months. They have no money for a hospital, no money for baby clothes, no money for anything except another week of instant noodles and hope. And he is about to refuse it. The paper trembles slightly in his hands. Not from fear, from the magnitude of what he is considering. Sylvester, Winkler says, his voice strained, "This is our final offer." Stallone nods slowly, still staring at the number. "I understand." "Good. So we have a deal?" Stallone picks up the paper one more time, holds it up to the light coming through the window. $300,000. Life-changing money. Security for his family. An end to the constant fear of eviction. He folds the paper carefully, precisely, like he's folding a piece of his soul, places it in his jacket pocket, right over his heart. "Can I ask you something?" he says. "What?" "If you make this movie with Ryan O'Neal and it's successful, what happens to me?" "You get your money. You pay your bills. You move to a better apartment. You write another script. And what about Rocky? What do you mean? Winkler genuinely doesn't understand the question. To him, Rocky is intellectual property, a commodity to be bought and sold and marketed. Rocky Balboa. What happens to him? Chartoff shrugs. He's a character in a movie. Ryan O'Neal plays him. The movie makes money. Everyone's happy. No, Stallone says, and there's something in his voice that makes both producers sit back slightly. He's more than that. He stands up from the table, takes the paper out of his pocket, unfolds it slowly, deliberately, looks at the number one last time. $300,000. Security, safety, survival, but not his dreams. He sets it down in front of the producers with the same care someone might place flowers on a grave. You want to know what happens to Rocky if you make this movie with someone else? Both men nod, mesmerized by the strange intensity in Stallone's voice. He dies, Stallone says. The real Rocky dies. You kill him. You take his heart and his soul and you put them in someone else's body. And then Rocky isn't Rocky anymore. He's just another movie character being played by a movie star. Winkler starts to respond, but Stallone continues, and now his voice is gaining strength, like a fighter who has decided he's done taking punches and is ready to throw some. But if I play Rocky, if I become Rocky, then he lives. He's real. He breathes. Every stumble, every punch, every word, it comes from the same place the script came from. He looks directly at Winkler, then at Chartoff. I wrote Rocky because I am Rocky. I know what it feels like to be counted out before the fight even starts. I know what it's like when nobody believes in you except yourself. And sometimes not even yourself. The room is so quiet they can hear his heartbeat. So thank you for the offer, but I can't sell Rocky's soul for $300,000. I can't sell it for $3 million, because if I do, I'm not just selling a script. I'm selling who I am. He turns and heads for the door, each step deliberate and final. Wait, Chartoff calls after him, his voice almost desperate. Stallone stops at the door, hand on the knob, but doesn't turn around. What if we made the movie with you? The words hang in the air like smoke. With what money? You just told me unknown actors don't make money. Winkler and Chartoff exchange a look. They're producers. Their job is to minimize risk. And Sylvester Stallone is the definition of risk. We'd have to cut the budget. Way down. Maybe $1 million total. Stallone turns around slowly. How much would I get paid? Scale. Maybe $20,000 for acting. $20,000 for the script. Plus a small percentage if the movie makes money. The numbers hit Stallone like physical blows. 20,000 versus 300,000. 40,000 total versus financial security. But also his name on the poster versus watching from the audience. His dreams versus someone else's career. Are you serious? Winkler and Chartoff are looking at each other, having a silent conversation with raised eyebrows and slight nods. This is insane. $1 million budget in an industry where the average movie costs 5 times that. An unknown actor with a speech impediment and a face that looks like it's been through a boxing match. A boxing movie in an era when boxing movies don't make money. But something about Stallone's conviction is affecting them. Something about the way he talks about Rocky, like he's a real person who deserves protection. Something about the fact that he just walked away from $300,000 on principle. We'd need approval from the studio, Winkler says slowly, his voice uncertain. United Artists will want a proven actor, Chartoff adds. They'll fight us on this. But maybe we could convince them, if we present it right. Stallone doesn't respond immediately. He is thinking about his wife, 8 months pregnant, sleeping on a mattress on the floor because they can't afford a bed. About his dog, Butkus, who needs veterinary care they can't pay for. About his empty bank account and the collection notices and the constant grinding fear of failure. $20,000 instead of $300,000. But also thinking about sitting in a movie theater watching himself as Rocky Balboa, watching the character he created, played the way he envisioned, watching his dreams come true, instead of watching someone else live them. If you can get the studio to say yes, he says finally, his voice barely above a whisper, then yes. The producers nod, both understanding they've just committed to the most unlikely project of their careers. We'll try. But Sly, yeah, if United Artists says no, that's it. We tried. The script goes back on the market with a star. Stallone nods. I understand. But as he says it, he knows something neither producer suspects. If United Artists says no, he won't sell the script to anyone. He would rather let Rocky Balboa die than let him be murdered. Sylvester Winkler calls as he reaches for the door again. Yeah? That was either the bravest thing we've ever seen in this business, or the stupidest. Stallone considers this for a moment. Maybe both, he says. But it was mine. He leaves the office. The door closes behind him with a soft click. The producers sit in silence, staring at the piece of paper with $300,000 written on it. Both understand they've just witnessed something unprecedented, a broke writer walking away from life-changing money for principle. Do you think he's crazy? Chartoff asks. Winkler picks up the paper, stares at the crossed-out numbers. Maybe. But he might also be the only sane person in this town. Outside, Stallone walks to his car, a beat-up Buick that barely runs. He sits behind the wheel for a long time. Did he just make the biggest mistake of his life? Or did he just save Rocky Balboa's soul? $300,000. He could have solved every problem in his life. Hospital bills for the baby. A real apartment. Food that doesn't come in cans. But he also would have had to watch someone else play the character he created from his own struggles. He starts the car. The engine coughs, protests, finally turns over. On the drive home, he passes a movie theater showing Love Story. Ryan O'Neal's name in big letters on the marquee. The same Ryan O'Neal who would have played Rocky. His wife Sasha is waiting for him. 8 months pregnant, sitting at their card table. She looks at his face and knows immediately. They said no. They offered $300,000. Her eyes widen. And I said no. For a moment her expression shows shock, but then she sees something in his face. The look of a man who believes in something bigger than money. You did the right thing, she says, and means it. That night, Stallone lies awake on their mattress on the floor. Outside, Los Angeles hums with dreams being made and broken. Somewhere in the city, Ryan O'Neal sleeps in a mansion. And in a small apartment, a broke writer who just turned down fortune stares at the ceiling. 6 months later, Rocky opens in theaters. It will make $225 million worldwide. It will win the Academy Award for Best Picture. It will make Sylvester Stallone a global superstar. But none of that is certain in November 1975. All that is certain is that a broke actor walked away from $300,000 because he believed in something bigger than money. The decision that changed everything happened in 6 words. No, I'm going to play Rocky. And somewhere in Los Angeles, a bull mastiff named Butkus will never have to be sold again. The greatest underdog story ever made started with the greatest gamble ever taken. By a man who chose his dreams over his bank account and won everything.